Welcome to A Kind Life. Today I've got John Thomas here, also known as the Bodybuilding Vegan. How you going, John?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me on.
My absolute pleasure. Now, I do want to say, first things first, you're wearing one of my favorite t-shirts, and I've always loved this beanie that you're wearing. So tell us about what you've got on for anyone that's listening or watching at home.
My good friend Brent, he created one-to-save-many.com, and it's a website and a business dedicated to placing donations for animals. So everything you buy on there, 100% of the proceeds will go towards animal charities in need. So we have these really cool vegan shirts. A couple other different styles are on there, and I know there's more stuff in the works. So definitely check that out at one-to-save-many.com. And then I rep these beanies from a company called Sarcastic Rhino Vegan Apparel. It's in my link on Instagram if anyone's interested. It's just a way for me to kind of get this out there because I used to not wear vegan apparel, and I would have known people for like a year at the gym. And then one day they'll ask me like, "Oh, should I eat this chicken or eat that?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't eat meat." And they're like, "What?" And so not every day, but more days than not, I'll be wearing a shirt like this just to kind of get it out there.
Yeah, I would say that I notice a lot of your posts on Instagram do contain something that has like the word vegan or something related to it in it, which is really cool. So that people, like you said, do know that you are vegan and can ask any questions, or I'm guessing probably break some stereotypes as well.
Yes, it's a conversation starter. I think maybe like half the people I see in the gym think I'm like joking. They're like, "Oh, are you really vegan?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Wait, really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then the next question is always, "Where do you get your protein?" And then we normally delve into a quick discussion there. But yeah, it gets it out there, it gets it seen, and I think that's something I should be doing. I've worked for this body, and now I have a way to use it. It's like a billboard. I might as well promote for something that I care about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm keen to hear about, so for people who don't know you, who may not have seen you on Instagram or had the pleasure of meeting you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Biggest things, I've been vegan for 17 years now. So more than half my life. I'm almost 30. I've been working out for like 15 years now. So those are those are two huge parts of me. I recently competed in two bodybuilding shows late last year, and I plan to compete again late in 2023. Ultimate goal would to be the first plant-based IFBB Pro in men's open bodybuilding. There's currently, to my knowledge, none, and so it would be cool to be the first one to do that. Um, I'm an online coach. I coach all sorts of people, but I definitely like working more with plant-based athletes. If you come to me and you're not plant-based, we might sneak a meal in there and see if you like it or not. And then I run a couple other businesses, so I'm fairly busy, but I enjoy it, and I feel like being vegan and being a bodybuilder have given me so many connections, both business, relationship, friends, that I never would have had if I didn't embrace these things. And I'm just so grateful for that. Like competing is a big part of my life right now, but it's definitely not the best part of bodybuilding. The best part is like who you meet, and then being vegan on top of that. I've met some amazing people both in person and on Instagram. So that's me in a small nutshell.
And so outside of the gym and fitness, what else, is there anything else that'd be good to know about yourself?
That's a lot of me. I do enjoy like hiking and other physical activities. Beyond that, I'm definitely into like some personal development style stuff, reading books to change your mindset or have a more positive outlook on life. Um, I guess you could consider me like a businessman. I do run an apparel company, and a fitness equipment company. So I guess still tie back into the gym. But yeah, um, that's mostly it.
And how did your bodybuilding career start? I mean, I'm guessing that maybe before you went into bodybuilding, you were just always someone that was into fitness.
Yeah, for as long as I can remember, I was at least playing some sort of sport. Um, Definitely was a big turning point when I wrestled my freshman year of high school. Towards the end of that season, we started lifting weights to get ready for the next year. And I never went back to wrestling. I just kept lifting weights. That was what was fun for me. I think I gravitated towards wrestling and towards weightlifting because I was bullied pretty heavily as a kid. I did not have a lot of self confidence at all, and through spending a lot of time and I guess like being in the gym is working on yourself. Um, Nobody else is going to force you to do it. I mean, you could hire, an in-person trainer or something, but you still have to do the work. And over time, realizing what I was capable of in the gym allowed me to transfer that to other aspects of life. I mean, if you're good at bodybuilding, I think you have the capacity to be good at anything else, because to be good at bodybuilding, you just have to be consistent. You have to show up. You have to work hard. And if you do that in any aspect of your life, you can be at least relatively successful, in my opinion.
Yeah. And so when you decided to compete, did it surprise people that you were vegan?
It surprised people even when I said I wanted to work out. Like, people told me when I first started working out at like 130 pounds, you'll never gain any muscle if you don't eat meat. Like, I don't know how you'll do this. You'll have to take a bunch of supplements. You won't be healthy. You won't. And so by the time I competed, I knew that there were other people that had done it. Like, Robert Cheek is a relatively famous vegan bodybuilder. And I had seen him do it. So I was like, okay, if he can, I probably can too. But I had no clue going into my first show what it took, um, or how to do it. And I tried to do it all by myself. I did not use a coach. And it wasn't a very healthy experience, mentally or physically. So, and that had nothing to do with the diet, in my opinion. It just had to do with, there's a lot of nuances to bodybuilding. Trying to do it all on your own is very difficult. So this most recent time around, I feel like I did much better, especially mentally. I was able to stay in a much more happy place and not be so negative to people around me. I attribute that to having a good coach and having a better plan to follow.
And so tell us about, I guess, the mindset, or like, yeah, the mental, I suppose, headspace you have to be in for competing.
Oof. It's For me, it's kind of all or nothing. Like, once you're anywhere from like 16 to 20 weeks out, can't really do, it'll show. You can't cheat on your training. Like, you just have to be, I say, locked in. And I was doing an hour of cardio a day, 6 days a week, and lifting for 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. Like, I was always at the gym, because I couldn't manage to do both of those back to back. So it encompasses all the aspects of your life. And so for me, you got to have a really good reason. Um, I definitely have a little bit of like a chip on my shoulder to like prove that vegans can compete and do well. So that would give me some motivation. I also knew about a guy locally that was going to compete, and I was like, oh, he's pretty good, so I better beat him. I better like, if I'm at 10, like, would he be getting 12 reps right now? Like, can I keep going? He ended up dropping out. I knew he was dropping out, but in my mind, I was like, what if he's coming back? I'm still going to out train him. So just finding a way to, it's all mind games. Like, bodybuilding is very physical, but you have to play mind games with yourself to keep pushing at that level.
Yeah. I know someone from a few years ago, a friend who is a bodybuilder, and yeah, the level of determination and I would even just say, like you said, consistency, but just that, being so dedicated to what you want to achieve that almost nothing else matters. You have to be in that mindset of like, this is what you want to do, and you're not gonna sway from that plan and what you need to do to be able to get there. But like you said, if you're consistent, you're able to get to where you want to be. And so do you think that is sort of like transferred into other parts of your life, that like consistency and, and doing the things that you say you want to do?
100%, on almost any aspect of life. But like getting one of my most recent sponsors, I had reached out to them like 3 separate times, and they're like, "Oh no, not right now." And then they're like, "Yeah, get back to us next month." And I was like 11 days away. I put an alarm on my phone, and I messaged them at like 7 a.m. that morning on the first, like, "Hey, just checking in." And they're like, "Okay, we'll get back with you." And the next day, tagged them at a post, like, "Hey, just checking in." And then like a week later of like kind of pestering them every single day, they're like, "Okay, we'll write you a contract. We'll have it over to you this evening." I was like, awesome. 6 o'clock hit, no contract. I messaged them, "Hey, don't know if it went to my spam, but I didn't get it." And they're like, "We're going to sit down and write it right now." And they did. So, um, you know, in some aspects, don't take no for an answer, especially if it's like a business thing or something like that. Like, there have been so many times where people told me, "No, you can't do this," or "No, this won't happen." And staying consistent, staying resilient, has proven me that usually you can. If you're willing to work hard, you can get just about anything you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that attitude. It's a good attitude to have in life, not just in, bodybuilding and fitness.
Yeah.
And so you were talking about wanting to compete in 2023. So I guess for people who aren't aware of that kind of process, like tell us, the preparation involved and what you're, what I suppose, yeah, that sort of you're talking about being in a specific class and trying to become pro. So explain that to us.
The process is never ending. Like, yeah, that's almost 2 years away, like maybe 700 days out. But every single one of those days matters. Like, just because I'm not getting ready for a show in the next couple months, like now is the time that I really have to work and grow. So in bodybuilding, you typically have like it's considered an off season or a growth season, which is what I'm in right now, trying to eat a lot and grow and get as big as possible. And then usually somewhere like 16 to 20 weeks out from your show, you go into what's called like a contest prep, and calories get reduced, cardio gets up. You'll definitely be spending, if you're not already, you'll be spending more time practicing things like posing, tan. Like, it's just there's a lot of aspects that go into it. So for me, I would need to win first place at a national qualifying show to get qualified to go to nationals, and then win at least I believe my class at nationals, and that would give me the pro card. So um, it's not even like one show; it's like multiple shows to get there. So it's definitely a process. I'm not so worried about like what shows or when. I just know that I have a lot of work to do right now to grow bigger, because I'm even walking around at 245 pounds. I'm still relatively small compared to other aspiring pros, aspiring amateurs trying to become pros. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you did mention about posing and things. So I'm guessing, is that something you enjoy doing, or is that a bit of a stretch for you?
Um, that's a good question. I I don't know if I enjoy the actual posing itself, but I do enjoy getting it done well. Like, I have a posing coach, and so we FaceTime and go through the different poses together. And like when I nail it, when I finally learn, like almost like learning a new trick, I'm like, yes, all right, I got that. That's really satisfying. And then when you compete, you'll pose against other bodybuilders, but you do also get anywhere from 60 to 90 seconds to go have your own routine by yourself with music. And in the past, that would have been something I'd absolutely despise. Like, I'm not a dancer, like that's not my thing. But being able to choreograph and put together a routine and focus on yourself and enjoy that moment, because like you're working for months for like 60 seconds. Better enjoy it while you're there. So yeah, I did enjoy that at my last show. No clue what I'll do at my next show, but I'll find a way to enjoy it and make it special.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. And is this something you foresee that you're going to be doing like for years into the future? Like, is there sort of an age at which you think, I guess, I don't want to say you're too old, but like, is it something that you can see you'll be doing for a number of years to come?
Yeah, way to remind me that I'm old. I'm turning 30 in like a month, which sounds ridiculous because I still feel like a child in my head. Um, Bodybuilding is an interesting sport. There are some pros up into their 50s that do very well. So I'm by no means the end of my physical capacity. However, I feel like mentally I might starting to be slipping, to be honest. As far as what I value the most in life, like for example, if I could win first place at the Mr. Olympia, like best show in the world, or help my training partner get to that first place, and I had to pick, it's one of us, I'd give it to him every time. That would be more fulfilling to me. I have someone that I'm working with that's very, very high level, and I believe that he could go very, very far in this sport. And for me, it'd be like selfishly, I'd feel happy about myself getting someone else there. So I do coach, and coaching is becoming a bigger part of my role in this sport, I guess. And it's just like it does, like you had said, like you kind of have to sacrifice everything else for yourself if you're a competitor, whether that's relationships or going out or eating out or time. And it's just a lot for me to take just from myself when I feel like I could focus on so many other people or so many other things. Um, like I said, there still is that chip on my shoulder. I'd like to prove that plant-based competitor could get pretty far, and then we'll see. I will at least see it through the end of next year, and we'll see from there. But,
Yeah. Sounds like a good plan. And tell us about being an online coach. You know, where did that sort of come? You know, where did you get that, I suppose, drive to help others?
yeah, people have been asking me to coach them for quite some time, and I was like, no, 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 I don't know enough, and that's where like the self doubt comes into play. Like I think we all think, oh, I don't know enough to do that, whatever that is. And the person I was dating at the time, someone had asked me, hey, coach me, and I asked her, I was like, you should coach somebody, and she was like, you're stupid if you don't take on a client. I was like, well, that's kind of not the nicest way to put it, but I was like, okay, I'll try it. And that was like 3 years ago, and I've had around 100 clients now, and it's awesome. It's awesome to find people that have the energy, the desire, the motivation to get to their goals, but they just don't know how. Because I've tripped and stumbled and fell around the last 15 years figuring all this stuff out for me. And my goal as a coach is to take that 15 years and try and put as much of that in like the first month as possible with somebody. Um, what I've learned quickly is that everyone is different. Every individual is unique in how they respond to training and how they respond to food and what works for them and what doesn't. So it's always a little bit of a challenge, but for that, I enjoy that. And to be honest, I've met some wonderful people that have even turned into friends. Brent is he's a client, but he's also a friend. And I like to have my clients check in and let me know how they're doing physically, but also how are you mentally? Like you don't have to go into detail if you don't want to, but if something's going on with your kid or you got somebody in the hospital or you just went through a breakup, like those things are going to transfer physically. You might look different, you might feel different based on what's going on in your life. And unintentionally, I've made a lot of friends doing this too. So I feel very grateful to be in the position that I'm in, to be able to help somebody on their fitness journey, but also actually help them out on their life journey. Whether or not it's right, that's kind of how I act. My first coach, I was going through some very difficult life processes myself that I didn't know how to handle at the time. I didn't know who else to call. It was my birthday. I didn't want to I'd already complained to my mom. Like I didn't know who to talk to. Called him. He talked to me for I'm not saying that this is always going to happen with every client, but he talked to me for an hour that day. I'd already been working with him for a year, so this wasn't in the first week. We kind of knew each other, and it left an impact on me. He changed my life in that phone call, and I'd like to be able to pay that forward to other people. I'm trying to do that, but also keep it manageable. I do have a good number of clients. I can't do that for everybody every day, but if there's something I can do to make somebody's life better in addition to their fitness goals, that makes me sleep very well.
Yeah, that's such a great part. Like you said, it's not, probably something at the start when you started this, you didn't think it would be such a core component of being a coach, but it's incredible that you are able to form those relationships with people. And so tell us about, I guess, the percentage of people that you do coach that are vegan, plant-based versus those who aren't. Like, is there majority vegan?
I would say we're probably sitting at around 40% are vegan right now. And I think that's because there's not a whole lot of other places for vegans to go, especially if they're bodybuilders. There's not a whole lot of bodybuilders that are also vegans that are also coaches. So I think I fill that niche, but then I also run into people or I get referrals from people that are not plant-based, and I work with them. And I'm not pushy by any means. Will often recommend do what's best for you, which can be plant-based for a lot of people. I'll say, does your current whey protein powder, does that bother your stomach? 75% of people will say yes. I'll be like, okay, try this plant-based pea protein instead from True Nutrition. That's what I use. See how this feels. And almost always they're like, wow, my stomach doesn't hurt now. It's like, okay, well, we're going to use what doesn't hurt. For the 25% that are like, no, whey is totally fine. Okay, if that works for you. But I've had quite a few of that non 40% that I start with say, hey, let me try one of the meals you posted, can you work that into my meal plan? Like that tofu or the TVP that you posted the other day, can I work that in? Or I've had some come to me do like a month and they're like, you know what, I want to just eat exactly what you eat. So send me a plant-based meal plan. And whether or not they stay that way after, but I do think like even with my coaching, that's like another form of outreach and education. And personally, bodybuilding as a sport at the very high level is not healthy. Being as heavy as I am, or as heavy as a lot of these guys get, it's not healthy. You can look at their blood work, typically not great. And plant-based options can seem to improve that. So that's one aspect that I want to hammer on and try and get other competitive bodybuilders to stay healthier, even if they're not doing it for the animals, even if it's just for themselves and for the sport. So I think through the coaching is a great way to have action.
Yeah. And do you have conversations with people, around things like Game Changers or other like documentaries or resources outside of what you provide that they might be able to look into?
I don't typically give them. Most people are like, "Hey, I saw Game Changers. I want to work with you." That's how it goes. I've had that conversation many times. I feel like that one movie has been culturally such a shift. And personally, I feel like the agenda was pretty clear during the movie, but also there's a lot of takeaways from it. Like maybe it's a little bit biased, but I think it opened a lot of people's eyes. And no, I don't have like a resource or list. I feel like that's kind of me. Like if they follow me on Instagram, they'll already see where I'm at. But maybe that's something I should consider. Like, hey, here's a little welcome package for you to read after you get started with me.
Yeah, because sometimes, it's when people get started, then it opens the door to them looking into other things. Like you said, they might initially start this because they want to, have a certain fitness outcome or health outcome, but then sometimes they will move into looking into, but what other positive like outcomes are there from being vegan?
Yeah, for sure.
And tell us your vegan story. Like, how did you go vegan?
My vegan story, I think it was always like hidden in me somewhere. I was like 4 years old and I went fishing with my dad and didn't realize to eat the fish, you had to pull it out of the water and watch it drown. And so I threw a fit and my dad ended up putting it back in the water. I did not turn vegan at that time. Probably somewhere around like 7 years after that, I was like 10 years old. And my friend came over to have lunch and her mom brought a hamburger for me. And she's like, "Oh, you're killing a cow by eating that hamburger." And at the moment, I was like 10-year-old me. I'm just going to eat the hamburger. This doesn't really change anything. It is normal. I just stayed there. And a few weeks later, I was like, well, I'll try going like somewhat vegetarian. And I believe like within the next month or two, I was full blown vegetarian. That lasted for 3 years. And then of all things, I read a PETA magazine showing how factory farming is conducted. I never even thought about that a dairy cow is going to be turned into a hamburger once it stops making milk. Like I never thought about that. And that magazine showed that to me. And I was like, oh, well, I've done the vegetarian thing for a while. I don't know if I can be vegan. Let's try it. And it's been 17 years of trying it now. So it's not that hard anymore. Like it was difficult 17 years ago, being a child, like not having any grasp of nutrition, not having the options that almost every restaurant we go to now. It was a lot harder back then. So I feel like it's on easy mode now. I feel like, oh wow, that's vegan. Like I had so many other options. I keep looking and there's another thing and there's another thing. So yeah, and I think what makes me a little bit different on my vegan story is it had nothing to do with working out. I had not already been working out. I'm one of the few people I know that's been working out over a decade, and I've been plant-based the whole time. So yeah, again, the chip on my shoulder, like, yes, you can build muscle as a vegan. Yesterday, I had somebody in the gym ask me, they're like, "Oh, you're vegan?" I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Really? For how long?" And I was like, 17 years. I'm like, does it make it hard to grow muscle? And I was like, I don't know. This is the only way I know how to do it. So, and he just kind of looked at me and he's like, all right, well, and then he walked away. So, I mean, thank you again, Brent, for the shirt, because so many conversations get started with it. And yeah, I don't know how easy or hard it would be to not do a plant based. This is how I've done it. It's worked pretty well for me.
I'm intrigued to know how many times a week or a day do you get asked that?
If I wear stuff like this daily, daily, and that's what I do. I used to be so insecure. I didn't want to give anybody anything that they could make fun of me or make me feel different or weird. And now I walk around with my rainbow shoes and my vegan shirts, and like, I don't care. I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be happy. And if that offends you, I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to be me. I'm just trying to be what matters to me and get those conversations started. I've had quite a few people reach out on Instagram like, "Hey, I've been watching your stuff. I'm gonna try being vegan for a week." I'm like, whether or not they stick with it, cool, good for them. It's probably good for going to be a positive change to their health. Hopefully, they see the positive change to the world, the environment, for animals. So, yeah.
Yeah. And is there any other ways that you spread the vegan message, or is it solely in the gym and in the fitness space?
I think for me, it's going to be mostly in the gym and the fitness space. But I mean, I wore this shirt to a bar last night. I don't drink, but I was at a bar, and well, not this shirt, but another vegan shirt. I changed my shirts. Um, and I got a few people that looked at me like, huh. And so I do try and spread it as much as I can on Instagram. I feel like obviously I can connect with a few people a day in person. On Instagram, it's basically unlimited. Getting on shows like this that get spread with more people, that's basically unlimited. And so yeah, I'm forever grateful for Instagram because I've met so many wonderful people, including you, including Brett, that I never would have met without that. So social media, yeah. So other than just in person social media.
Yeah. And what made you decide to get involved in One to Save Many?
Brent, um, I had always admired this guy because he would track everything, like not just his macros, not just his calories, not just his reps, his sets, his body weight, his body fat percentage, his like I wouldn't even be surprised if he was checking his height. Like he tracks everything, and it's that dedication that he's always put into himself, into his businesses, into the coaching with me, like how hard he's worked. Anything that he's got his mind on, like I kind of want to check it out. And what he did for me is really special. Like he had mentioned donating in the past. Like I remember in the past couple of years, he's like, "Oh yeah, I donated to this or I donated to that." And I was like, "Oh, donating, that's nice. So I'll do that when I get older, when I have money to spare." And it hit me that like donating to charities is almost like being vegan. Like I wasn't vegan because no one had introduced that idea to me, and I wasn't able to come up with it on my own. And it's the same with kind of with charity. Like I knew charity existed, but I never put any time or effort into it because it wasn't in front of me. I didn't have a connection with it. When I saw Brent putting in all this work to create a donation-based company to get money out to animals in need, I was like, well, I'm not eating the animals. That's great. That's probably bare minimum. Well, what am I actually doing to help anything? Not a whole lot. So it just spoke to me, and I was like, well, that's my goal, is to help use my platform on Instagram and get some of these shirts out, and I'll buy a few each month to show, like, to put my money where my mouth is, and get the name out there and get more of this going around. So I actually have a friend. I'm going to buy her a shirt as soon as we get off the show. So I pick a few people each month, and that's my way of trying to do the thing. Like, yeah, it's great that we're vegan. That's a wonderful start. And for some people, that'll be the finishing point. But even otherwise, there's still other animals out there that need our help. And I just turned a blind eye to that the same way that people turn a blind eye to factory farming. They just didn't want to look at it. They didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to think about something else I should be doing. So thank you, Brent. Thank you, Want to Save Many. Without that, I probably wouldn't be on this podcast. So I'm grateful that my eyes were opened again. And I'm excited for the next time, in like the next 10 years, there will be another revelation. I don't have a clue what it is, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I love that just recently you got featured on Instagram page called Vegan Community, which has like I think 850,000 followers or something. So that was really cool. Was that something that you worked like to make happen, or did they approach you?
I approached them. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Vegan community is pretty well known on Instagram. It's a good platform. I thought it would be a good space to get this message out there. We'd be hitting the right target market, people that are vegan, but people that may or may not be donating to charities. So hopefully find some somewhat like-minded people and expose them to ideas that need some help and need some love. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's really incredible. And I think, yeah, it's really funny. After Brent's episode, I started, like, I was sharing One to Save Many with a few friends and trying to get them involved on the page. And the first response, I loved it. The first response I got from people, because at that stage, most of the photos were you in the gym. And the response I got from so many people was, "Oh my God, he's huge." So yeah, you definitely get some good reactions, and having the shirts is incredible. So you're doing a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really am trying.
And when you did go vegan, what was the reaction of your family and friends? Have they been mostly supportive and, supportive of your fitness journey?
17 years ago, you're going vegan. What does that mean? What's vegan? I've never heard of it. I've had to explain it to so many people. But my family, they jumped in pretty quick. My dad used to be vegetarian back in the day, so he was like, "Oh, this isn't anything weird." And he would just convert meals to make them vegan. Like, we have vegan Thanksgivings and stuff like that. My mom became vegetarian pretty quickly. I guilt tripped my brother real quick into being vegan. I think he was the first one I got. And then my little sister was vegan, and now she's vegetarian. So, you know, it's not exactly where I'd put it. I'd try and make everybody vegan if I could, but I pick and choose my battles. They're the people that have supported me on this journey. They were the people that bought me vegan food for the first 5 years before I had the ability to go do it myself. So I appreciate all that they did, and they made it a safe place for me to be myself. I know there are people out there that would want to do this, and their family wouldn't accept them or wouldn't ever make any space for them. So I'm really lucky to have that. Friends, yeah, my friends support it, because if not, they're not going to be my friends. You don't have to agree, but if you're not going to respect me and respect the decisions that I do with my life that, quite frankly, don't affect you, then I don't have any time or space or energy for anything but positivity. So
Yeah, I think it's a great way to look at it. And before we finish up, is there anything that we might have missed that you wanted to mention?
ooh, that's a good question. Um, Besides the vegan and bodybuilding thing, I'm going through some self-discovery. I've had some major changes in my life, like a recent breakup and things like that, and I'm realizing, and I feel like maybe this is a good spot to put it, that the future is very unknown, and that used to scare me. I used to be a huge planner. I still am. Like, I have a calendar and everything, so that I don't forget things like this podcast. But I don't try and plan everything for the next 1, 5, and 10 years. Now, granted, I want to get on stage late next year, have goals. I'm going to work towards those goals today. But it's okay to not know, because that's a good thing. And it took me a long time to get there. But, for example, if I could have sat down today and write down everything I want to happen in the next year, like my best case scenario, and then wait a year, have all that happen, I guarantee it's not best case scenario. I can't even imagine the best case scenario yet. 2 months ago, I wouldn't have known about being on this podcast with you. I think 2 months ago, Vegans wasn't even around. The One to Save Many vegan shirt. So there's so many awesome things that could be coming your way that you can't factor into your best future. So don't worry. Just take each day and be present and try to enjoy the moment, because nothing's promised. And stay as positive as you can. It's okay to have a bad day, but stay positive whenever you can. Be grateful for what you have. And for me, the unknown used to be scary, and now it's exciting. And that's just where I'm at. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm someone in the past that used to be very organized and planned, and I still am to some extent, but I completely agree that you have to go with the flow a little bit and see what the universe has in store for you, because otherwise, I suppose too, you then set expectations and things upon yourself that may be outside of your control. So it is good to see what the universe has in store and go with it. And like you said, still have some plans, but not have it set in stone.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Do you have a favorite quote or something, you know, I suppose a motto that you live by that you would like to share to end the episode?
I have quite a few quotes. I like to live by quotes. I'm going to do two.
Sure.
One plays off of what I just said. This too shall pass. I used to only view that quote as something to tell myself in a negative situation, like, "Oh, this is really hard. This too shall pass." But now I view it as like a coin. It could be flipped. You could be the best situation of your life. You could be on top of Mount Everest. Well, remember, this too shall pass. So like, sit there and enjoy the fuck out of this. I hope I can cuss on here.
Yeah.
You can bleep it out if not. So that's one. And then the other, I feel like, is just a very veganistic quote. It's, we do not inherit the world from our parents. We borrow it from our children. And when you start to think like that, it really makes you think what kind of footprint am I leaving, both literally and figuratively, and how do I want to live my life?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. If people want to reach out to you, if they've got any questions or want to follow your journey, see how you're prepping for next year's comp, what's the best way for them to do that?
Easiest way to follow along would just be to go on Instagram and search for the Bodybuilding Vegan. That's me. If you don't have Instagram, totally fine. I have the bodybuildingvegan.com. That's my website. You can reach out to me on there. There's a way to get in contact with me. So if you have any questions, if you're looking for coaching, if you just want to check in, that's another easy way to get to me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I like in my mind, 30's young, but I definitely think you've got a very mature head on your shoulders. And, you know, it's great to see that, I guess, as well, you know, that you're integrating your passion for fitness and veganism into one. It's really incredible. And I look forward to seeing your journey. So thank you so much for jumping on today. And I do want to say thank you to Brent for, connecting us, because he was on the podcast a few episodes ago. And as soon as we hung up, he said, oh, I really think you should, I'll introduce you to John. It'd be great to have him on here. He's a great guy. And I definitely agree. So thank you for saying yes.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.